I want to speak to the hearts of those who are waiting for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer a dua that they have been making for a very long time. I want to speak to those who are spiritually, emotionally drained due to that long waiting period of making dua, and still not witnessing the door being opened. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answering the dua that you've been making. I want to speak to this because we live in a time where many people struggle with placing their happiness in a time and place that has not yet come. Where many people today have rigidly defined what happiness looks like for them. And then they took that rigid definition of happiness and they tied it to the future, not the present, not the actual reality that they are living in, because there's no other reality except the present. Future has not come, it's an illusion. The past has already passed, it's not your current reality. What happens is that when we do that, when we place our happiness in a time that has not yet come, we are living now in a gap. The gap between where we actually are in the present that we think has nothing to offer us because it doesn't hold what we've been asking for, and the future, where our happiness is, that time and place that will come when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers our dua. So we get stuck in this gap. And existential psychology says that depression lies in this gap between where you are, your present, and where you think you should be. And this is where a lot of people are stuck. And the reason we get stuck in this gap is many of us don't see the beauty and the power and the opportunity in those periods of waiting for something, for Allah to answer your dua, in those periods of patience, in those periods of being tested. Many of us think that the greatest blessings in life are outward, are external. And we don't realize that the greatest blessings in life are internal. The greatest gifts are inward. It is what Allah does to your heart, to your being, to your soul, to your mind. It is a person who walks this earth with a heart that is detached, has detached its worth from things outside of it. Remember that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us what true success is. And it's not those who come back to Allah, with wealth and children. No, we know from the Quran, wealth and children will not benefit you. What will benefit a person? Except Man ata Allah bi qalbin salim, those who come to Allah with a sound heart. Qalbin salim, a whole heart, a heart that is sound, complete, a heart that has sought out its wholeness through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For all of those who are waiting for something, Allah's giving you a great opportunity. When Allah withholds from you something you really want, He's giving you an opportunity to be whole through Him. He's giving you an opportunity to free your heart from attaching your worth to that thing. He's giving you the opportunity to be sufficed with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the greatest gift that we can have. It's what allows you to walk your path in this world grounded, stronger, freer, feeling worthy and suffice. And I can tell you from being a therapist and providing counseling to people, many people over the years of different ages, in different phases in their lives, that the things we have are not what bring us peace. I work with people who have the things that maybe many people are asking for. And guess what? Because their worth is attached to those things, whether it's their spouse, their children, their careers, their houses, whatever it is, it brings them so much pain. Because nobody will ever be anything, nobody will ever be everything for you. Nothing Allah will give you can ever be everything for you, can ever suffice you in every way. Your career will never suffice you in every way. Even your spouses, many times people struggle in their marriages. Why? Because they think their spouse should be everything for them. We were not designed to seek our wholeness where somebody is going to make us whole. Nobody is the source of your wholeness except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah gives an opportunity to certain people to realize this great treasure. And it's when He withholds from you something you really want. And then you realize that you have the power to be sufficed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Doesn't mean you're not going to be sad for not having certain things in your life. You're allowed to be sad. Yaqub alayhi salam grieved and was sad that he didn't have Yusuf. But yet he had rida and contentment. And he said, I complain of my grief and sorrow to Allah, but he also said, I know from Allah what you do not know. You know, meaning what? I trust my Lord. I have faith in my Lord. I believe in his plan for me. I believe in his qadar. I believe in his wisdom. So sadness and rida and tawakkul can sit right next to each other. But as you're sad, it wouldn't be a test, by the way, if you didn't feel the pain. It wouldn't be a test if you know, it wouldn't be patience if you were happy all the time, right? So just because, you know, we're talking about having faith through the test doesn't mean that you're not allowed to experience the emotions that come with the human experience. But as you're going through that, see the opportunity that Allah holds for you. In his withholding, he is giving you. He's giving you the opportunity to draw closer to him. He's giving you the opportunity to be connected to him and love him and see your worth through him above anything else. And that's the greatest blessing that he can give you. And inshallah, when he then gives you the blessing that you've been asking for, when he then opens the door and answers your dua, guess what? You're not going to put that thing in the same place. You're going to love it. You're going to appreciate it. You're going to appreciate it so much more because you didn't have it. But also, you're going to know that it's not the source of all your joy, of your worth, and your peace, which is a mistake that many people make in the blessings that they were given. I want to end by reminding you of the dua of Ayyub alayhi salam. Ayyub is one of the prophets that was tested so severely in life. He lost so much. He lost not only his wealth, his beautiful homes, he lost his children. And on top of that, he was tested with such a severe skin disease that made so many people abandon him, except his wife. She remained devoted to him. The scholar said that Ayyub alayhi salam was tested so severely that his disease was so severe that there wasn't a limb on his body that wasn't affected by his disease except his tongue and his heart, subhanAllah, which he used, of course, for the remembrance of Allah. And I want to share with you a dua that he says when he was tested. And it's so beautiful. Many of us are familiar with the dua where he says, that he says, Massani dur anta arhamur rahimin, you're the most merciful. But there's another dua where he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he speaks about the process of losing everything, which I think is so beautiful. He says, at Ayyub alayhi salam, he says to Allah, I praise you, the Lord of Lords, who bestowed his kindness upon me and gave me wealth and children. And there was no corner of my heart that was not filled with attachment to these worldly things. Then you took all of that away from me, and you emptied my heart, and there is nothing to stand between me and you. If my enemy, Iblis, Shaitan or Satan, knew of this, he would be jealous of me. Subhanallah, Ayyub here is highlighting something powerful. That when Allah took away these things from him and he tested him with taking away these things. So even if you're somebody who's listening to this and you've lost something, see the opportunity as well. Here Ayyub is saying that when Allah, he was attached to all of these things. This is Ayyub, the prophet, who has, he's a prophet of Allah and he has more faith than any of us could have, right? And yet he himself is saying he was attached to all these worldly things. And until Allah took it away from him, then his heart became emptied. But when his heart became emptied of these attachments, what does he say? He says, until there was nothing to stand between me and you. The barriers between him and his creator were gone, as he freed himself of his attachment to anything else. And this is the Prophet ﷺ. So himself, so I can't imagine how attached he was, but he's appreciating how the loss of those things has now removed all barriers between him and Allah, and now he's so close to Allah that he thinks that if Iblis knew this, he would be jealous of him. What does this mean? That if Iblis saw this great treasure I have, this great blessing I have that I got from losing everything, he himself would be jealous of me. What does that tell you? That the greatest blessing on this earth is not our external blessings. It's what Allah does for our heart. It's when Allah removes the veils between us and him, and we feel so close, and we have access to the source of everything. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us hearts that are attached to him above all else, and free our hearts from attaching our worth to anything but him.